Welcome. Today what we're going to look at is creating a collection using PDF files. Now the first issue we're going to deal with is how do you get PDF files? Now you can download them off the internet or you can create them yourself. It's easy to create PDFs in Word just by doing a file save as and choosing PDF. If you don't have Word, you can download the free OpenOffice suite, and that also has a PDF. Now, the benefit of the OpenOffice one over Microsoft Office is the PDF tends to be more compatible with Greenstone. So the OpenOffice export to PDF, you can bring those directly into Greenstone. The more recent versions of Word, you can't. So if you do have issues with your PDFs not being imported, use OpenOffice instead of Word. Now, while OpenOffice and Microsoft Office are good at producing PDFs, that kind of limits you mainly to document files. What if you want to produce PDFs from web pages or something else? This is where you need a different program. Now, if you have purchased the Adobe Acrobat Pro, you can use that to make PDFs out of just about any file. What you do is you install it and then select it as a printer. So you choose print and then select Adobe PDF in the printer. Now the other thing about the Acrobat Pro is you can choose which version of PDF you want by clicking on the Properties button and going into Edit. So by editing the properties of Adobe Acrobat Pro, we can use the pull down on the compatibility menu to select with version. Now Greenstone will definitely import version 1.4, and I think it works pretty well with versions up to 1.6. Past that, it gets a little iffy and your content file may not import correctly and will fail to be added to your collection. Now, if you don't want to pay the money for Adobe Acrobat Pro, I think it's about $100, there is an open source program called PDF Creator that works the same way. You download it and install it, and it installs itself as a printer. So from whatever you've got file open, you can select Print and then choose PDF Creator. Now, PDF Creator doesn't have as many options for fine-tuning as the Adobe Acrobat Pro, but the files it produces, the PDFs, are quite compatible with Greenstone. So this is a good solution for creating content. Now, Office, OpenOffice, Adobe Acrobat Pro, or PDF Creator are fine for creating PDFs from files you already have. What if you have a collection of PDF files already existing and they're versions that are past 1.6, so would not import to Greenstone? There's basically two options here. You could convert those newer PDFs to a more compatible version of PDF 1.4, 1.5, 1.6 and then import them. Or Greenstone says it has a PDF extension that you can install that will allow you to import any PDF. Let's take a look at how well that works. Before I install the PDF box extension into Greenstone, what about conversion option? Adobe Acrobat Pro will handle that if you have that installed. A Mac, I believe, I haven't tested on the most recent versions. A PDF, you can open it in preview and export it. So you can export a PDF to PDF, which seems to put it in a more compatible version. Or you can use a web app to convert more recent PDFs to more compatible versions for Greenstone. So here is an excellent web app for converting PDFs. You browse to the PDF you want, it uploads it, you can select output formats, and then from the compatibility pull down you can choose what version you want. Acrobat 5 is version 1.4, so 5 or 6, possibly 7, these should work fairly well. You can get it emailed to yourself, or you can just download it once it's ready. So if you don't have anything installed, this is a very good way of doing things with one limitation. The free version limits you to 2 megabytes per file, so you can't have really large PDFs to do this way. So here is our test of the Greenstone PDF box extension. First, what we did, we took a file that we knew was I think it's version 1.9 It was Adobe Reader 9 PDF, so we tried to import that to our collection. What we get in the build log, when we click build, we see there's a problem. It says the file was recognized. It knew what it was. It's a PDF, but it couldn't handle the format. So this is without the PDF box installed. So now let's install it. So I downloaded the PDF box extension, unzipped it. It was in a zip archive, which gave me a folder called PDF-box. I copied that folder into the ext folder of Greenstone. How well did it work? Well, it doesn't. It does add the new functions to your PDF plugin, but when you go to run the CLI, the Java virtual machine crashes, as you can see by all the error messages generated in the window. So I couldn't get it to run, so I had to delete the PDF box folder from the extension, exit the CLI, and rerun it, and the CLI was fine. This is similar to the results I had last year when I tried this. I had a number of problems with this extension, which I wrote about on my blog, and never could get it to work reliably. So my recommendation is not to use this approach, but to use the conversion approach to making your PDFs compatible with Greenstone. Okay, let's take a look at this week's task we're going to do in this video. We're going to create a collection of 5 PDF files, the usual indexes. We're going to format them to make them look nice. We're going to then add some content and format the content of the home page. The files you'll need are in the Week 4 folder on the Dropbox, and I'll also upload them to the Week 4 lecture notes on the SharePoint website. So run the CLI and do File New. Create a new collection. We're going to call it Week 4. I then went off to the Gather tab and clicked on my home folder, browsed down to the Dropbox, found the 9720 folder, Week 4, and inside the Files part, I've got 5 PDFs that I'm going to drag into my collection window. You'll also notice there's an Images folder there of associated files we're going to put in the Images folder for this collection. So once you've gathered the 5 PDFs into the collection, then copy the files from the Images folder in the Dropbox to your Greenstone Collect Week 4 Images folder. And you see we've got a banner. I've already made a banner for you. I've got a picture of the gentleman. I've got a little biographical information in a HTML page downloaded from the web. I've got a custom PDF icon I'm going to use. I've got the audio version of one of these books, and in the text file there's a URL for the Google Books version of this book, so we'll make a hyperlink to that later on. Now the first thing we're going to do is go off to the Design tab and the Document Plugins. We're going to modify the behavior of the import process of the source files. Now you notice the whole list of plugins for different types of files. The way Greenstone works is there's little programs called plugins that process the files based on the file's extension. So the one we want is the PDF plugin. Now notice the options. Notice the top option, by default, all PDF files are also converted to HTML. That's going to be the Greenstone converted file document. So we're going to have the PDF's going to be imported, plus it's going to be converted to HTML. We're going to put check marks in 2 options. One is the use sections. What this means is that any long document will be broken up into sections that we can, for example, use in a search engine. Maybe we want to retrieve just sections of long documents. This is an option for a number of document types in the various plugins. The other tick mark we're going to place in is to keep the original file names. Why? Maybe at some point we want to refer to the original file, so having the name would make it a little bit easier for us. So what happens when PDFs or any files are imported? An archives folder is created in your collection. So this is the Week 4 archives folder, and each record or file gets its own folder, starting with #01 and going on. You notice there's a 01AO, 01BE, 3F. These are all assigned. Inside of each of those folders is 2 a minimum of 2 other files. And now you notice we have in there the original source file, the PDF, with the file name preserved for us. We also have a doc.xml. What is doc.xml? It's the metadata associated with this record. It's held in that file. Now, we can actually make hyperlinks to this particular document if we need that at some point by using the macro HTTP prefix and then drilling down to the file location. So that may be handy later. I don't think we're going to do that today, but we might do that in the future. If you want to take a look at the metadata for a file, it's just a plain text file. You can open it in Notepad or some other text editor, and we'll see all the metadata there. Now you notice we've got extracted metadata sets. There'll be an EX1, but there's an EXPDF one particular to PDFs that will have an amount of information that may be useful to us. In fact, we're going to use some of this extracted metadata today. Okay, time to design the collection. Click on the Design tab, go down to the Browsing Classifiers, and the first thing as usual is to get rid of the useless indexes. So we're going to remove the file name index from our classifier list. Next, it's off to the search indexes, where we're going to obviously remove the file name search function. We're going to remove the title search function as well. We don't really need those. They don't add any value as far as we can see. Now we're going to modify the behavior of the full text search engine. The default for the search engine is to return the entire document as a result of a search. So that's okay if the document is short and you can easily browse through it, but what if the document is long? For example, your document could be an entire book. So searching for something and getting the entire book back, not that useful, too many pages to go through. So what we're going to do is check mark down here the one that says section. So we're going to change the default return from a document to a section. This will return a section of the document. Now, to make this work, we had to change our plugin to use sections, which we've done. So now our search engine will return a section of a document as a result of a search. Let's see how this works. So if you click Create, click Build, and then click Preview, and then go into the search engine, we can do a search to test out. I'm going to search for the weird keys here, and we notice we get 7 documents that match. Now you notice they're not the documents listed. It lists the page number of the document along with the greenstone converted text icon. For some reason, yet unknown, this only returns us the converted greenstone documents, not the PDFs. I don't think the search engine is using the PDFs, though the full text one without section does. So maybe there's some problem why it can't use sections. We don't know yet. Anyway, we get the pages here. If you click on one of these, you will actually see the page. So here is a search result. We see the converted text. In this case, not bad. We have the document header at the top, which we might want to remove. We also get the document buttons. The highlighting may be useful. I'm not sure about the detach button. And we have some rather ugly navigation added. This search returned the section which is page 1, and there's 12 pages of the document. We can now actually browse through the remainder of the document if we want to click the icons for forward and back, which are not that well designed. The thing works, it's rather ugly, and it only works on the converted documents. Now that means, how good is the conversion from PDF? Is this usable? We better test that. So we look at some other search results and find not so good for some of them. The problem is that the PDFs, converting them is never 100% accurate. It's somewhat difficult to convert PDFs to text and preserve both the actual text and the formatting. So you have to check each document if you want to keep the HTML converted option in there. Now we might decide that we don't want to do that. We'll give them the PDFs, but we don't really want to have the converted one, because we assume that every web browser has a PDF plugin so people can view PDFs in their web browser. If we take a look at the titles index, we'll see the default format that we're quite familiar with now. 3 columns. The first column is the usually the greenstone converted text one, but because we've changed this to sections, we get a little sort of book icon. Looks like a gold bar to me, but it's supposed to be a book. Then we get the source icon, which is applied to the document type. In this case, it's a PDF, so it's a PDF icon. And then in the third column, we have the default metadata. Now, obviously, we want to change this format. So it's off to format features. And we're going to take CL1, which is our simple list index, from the pull down. And we see the default code, so we click add format and remove all that, and we're going to replace it with something a little better. What we're going to do is replace the default 3 columns with 2 columns. In the first column, we're going to have the source icon, which is going to be a PDF, and we're going to hyperlink that to the source document, which is the PDF. So in the first item, you see a PDF icon. If you click it, it opens the PDF file. The second column, we're going to put some metadata so that it can help have some information for the user about this record, so they can decide, is this what they want. So we're going to put the title in from the extracted title. We're going to put author from the extracted author, and how many pages it in from the page count extracted, and the version of the PDF. Let's see how that works. Now, it doesn't work bad, except that some of the titles are messy. This is probably why we would want to use a DC title, where we can have a better quality metadata. Also, there's a problem if there's no author. We get the author menu label displayed, but it's blank, so we're going to have to fix that. Before you change a format of an index, you may want to think about what you need to display. What kind of information would help your users decide that this is the record they want? So here we see some options. One thing about icons is, does the person know it's clickable? PDF, probably, I think they would assume this is the document, but they may think, oh, that's just an indicator of the type of document and it's not clickable. So here someone's added a view PDF hyperlink. That's obviously a hyperlink. They've made this by using replacing the source icon variable with a text that says view PDF document. In the second example, we see same thing, a fair amount of information to help the user understand. There's authors, the person's used DC creator. They've also added some DC subject, the type, so the person knows what kind of content it is. They may prefer an article to a letter, right? Assuming it's better information than an article. The third one way down there, we see, again, information that helps, like what skill level is it? How much long does it take? These are information needs the user may have that they can see from the index entry. Oh, that one takes too long. I'll click on this one. So that helps the user make a choice of an item. So you probably want to think about those things. While it's certainly easy and useful to display the PDF icon or a text link, and then when the person clicks on it, it goes to the actual file. The PDF is displayed. There is value sometimes to taking them to a fuller display. The trouble with indexes is you're really limited of how much information can be there. You've only got a few lines to work with in an index. So if we use link instead of source link, we can take it to the document text. So the person browses the index, sees something that looks interesting, they click, they get more information. Now, if they really want this, they can click on the PDF icon to get the actual document, or they could go back to the index. So this can be, in some ways, a way of providing a lot more value or information about the actual record. Okay, let's go back to changing the format for our title list index. So we're going to add a couple lines. We're going to replace the ugly PDF icon with a nicer one that we copied to our images folder. So I've put in a source link and then an image source link to PDF PNG. I've put some height and width tags to make it big so it looks nice. And then I'm formatting the second column with the metadata with a nicer font, a bigger size, a little more white space, so it looks a little nicer. However, my previous version didn't account for the fact that some of these documents don't have any authors. So to handle that, I wrote an if in line 3 that checks for the existence of EX-PDF author. If it exists, there's an author, then we display a menu label in bold called author, or sorry, not a menu, display there, and then we display the actual metadata from EX PDF author, and then a blank line. If it's not true, there is no author, we don't do anything. So after the second column, nothing occurs. And then we display the rest of the metadata. So if we refresh our page or preview, we can see that this works. Those that have authors get that metadata along with the label. Those that don't. Okay, next thing is the banner, and it's easy to go off to Format General and click the Browse for the About page. The About page is Greenstone terminology for the home page of this collection. The home page terminology is for your icon that goes on the library website where there's tons of collections. So I've created this small little banner there. Actually, I stole it off the internet, and we're just put that into our collection now. The next step is to add some content, formatted content for the home page. And again, we're going to use a simple older method of a table to position and lay things out on the screen. I've created a table with no border, a bunch of white space between each cell and some spacing between the cells, and set the width to 90% of the page. And then I put some paragraphs in. The content I just grabbed off the hayek.html article in the files folder of the Dropbox, cut and pasted it in. I took the URL from the text file for the Google Books and made an href for that, and I added an href to the MP3 file and the images folder, and then also an image source, so we display a picture of the gentleman from the images folder. So that will give us a simply formatted home page. And there it is. It's pretty straightforward. We see the links to reading the book online or listening to the MP3. We've got some paragraphs in there. Now, the paragraphs aren't indented and there's not a lot of style to it. So we probably want to add some formatting to our home page. Now, so far we've been adding what's called inline style. To each tag we've added a style equals and some style attributes such as font size, colors, whatever, padding, margins, borders to format. Now that's okay. I mean, in fact it works, it's quick and easy, but we might want to write instructions for the entire collection so we don't have to worry about each page. And this is typical. Each collection would have specific formatting that would override the general formatting for the library website. So to provide custom formatting to override the defaults, you go to Format, Collection Specific Macros. And you'll see there's some code in here. The hash marks are comments, they don't executed. And code is organized into a number of packages. The style package, or package style, is where we put our code to apply to all the pages. And this is similar to having the style declaration in the metadata head section of a web page. Now the first thing we're going to do is set style to the body. What it means is our style that we put in here will apply to all the content, because in an HTML page all the content lies within the body tags. So every page will now have a left margin of 5%. Bring it in a bit, look it nice. We're adding a color to the text, sienna, adding a font, verdana, nice, and we're making it a little bit larger so it will look good. We also decide that we don't want the background images. Greenstone's default style sheet has things like that green sidebar. This is visual noise. It interferes with your perception of the page, how quickly you can gather what's on it. It just gets in your way. It's a distraction. We don't need it, so we're going to remove it. And here's the result of those two lines. We now have a cleaner looking home page. Our next step is to format or change the formatting of the menus. Now, Greenstone style sheet uses two declarations, a div bar and a nav bar. Those are those green bars at the top, and they also select how the menus behave. So what we're going to do is turn off the green by having no background image or setting it to white. We're also going to undo Greenstone style sheet's tendency to turn everything into lowercase. So we're going to capitalize stuff. We're also going to put a bit of white space around it. By default, the menu is right up against your banner and right up against your index, so we need a bit of space around there. Okay, here's the result of those two lines. The green is gone. The things are now capitalized properly. Menu labels should be capitalized. And we also have a larger, more easier to scan font and with a bit of white space around it, setting the menu off from the search and index lists and from the banner. Now here's a useful function I was going to add last week but didn't get around to it. Our Sherlock Holmes collection would benefit from having a teacher's guide if we change the audience of users from enthusiasts to educators. So that would be a way we could add to the menu associated material that we don't necessarily want gathered into the collection. So this is a very useful technique for all kinds of ways. So what we're going to do now is add maybe biographical information about the gentleman in question. We do this by adding a new package to our collection called Package Global. This is settings that can apply to all our web pages. Now we have to use a number of variables in here, the op navigation bar, and we're going to use the classes that were defined in the Greenstone style sheet. So we're going to keep those, navbar. So what it's going to look, we're going to put the navigation bar one in, the navbar spacer in, and then we're going to add a tab to the nav tab, and it's going to be called biography, and when it's clicked it will go to that hayek.html file in our images folder. So we click preview to test the result, and now we have a biography menu item that when clicked loads that page. So this is a very, very useful way of separating content from information about the content. For example, if you're doing a Shakespeare plays, you'd want the plays as the source files you're importing, but maybe the commentary on the plays might be different. Now, while Greenstone comes with a default full-text search engine, some collections may not add any value. There's certain collections where having a full-text search, particularly if you're, well, especially if you're using just images as content or MP3s or movies, something that doesn't have any text, you may want to remove it. So some collections don't have a search function. They find that the browsable indexes work just as well. So what we're going to do here is remove the search index and see what happens. Once you remove it and click Create, Build, and Preview, you'll notice there's no search function on the home page. Now here's one task we didn't get to, but it's an interesting one. This works quite well with HTML documents. It should work with PDF files or even Word documents as well. If you had a image that was a cover, like a cover page for the document, you could replace the generic PDF icon with a cover image. You should then be able to control the size of the image with the height and width tags. So the user could see a preview of the document, then the metadata next to it, and the preview could be clickable, hyperlinked to the original document or to the document text level, or you could have a text hyperlink and click to view document, stuff like that. So this is an interesting thing to do. You have to have the images and import them. You have to have the same name as the files. You also have to disable or add the no cover image option if you don't want it. That's in the plugin for your particular document type. And in document images, in the format statement, you can set that to true. And that should end up having this images displayed along with your document. An interesting thing. We didn't get to it this week, but maybe we'll get to it in upcoming weeks.